What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video. Welcome to the Huey, one of my favorite modules, and today I'm doing kind of a emotional, happy video about flying the Huey with the most precision I've ever had in DCS, and that is entirely as a result of using a brand new force feedback stick, which I'm currently testing. And it's currently not available to the general public. It will be at some point, so I'm not going to go and do a full review of it at the moment, especially as it's still sort of in the testing phase. Will at some point, of course, and I'll be delighted to share with you guys exactly all the details about this insane piece of kit. I can describe to you the engineering behind this and also just how transformational it's been to my entire experience flying every single airplane, helicopter, whatever there is that I have in DCS. But in particular, I absolutely love flying the Huey, and today I'm going to talk about, specifically and demonstrate to you, just how bloody amazing and precise and smooth the Huey is flying with a full force feedback setup. Now, the benefit of a full force feedback stick, apart from the fact that it can provide a lot of feedback, is actually that you tune it differently for each aircraft, right? So each and every module is going to feel completely different. When you move the stick, you'll have a completely different experience, hopefully representing what that aircraft sort of is in real life, right? Which is absolutely something you cannot do with a spring center loaded stick that pretty much 99.99999% of all users use, like I did until very recently. Let's have a chat about the Huey in particular. Now, I've tuned it such that actually I don't have any force feedback. Now, this is one of the byproducts of having a full force feedback stick, is that it doesn't need to be spring loaded to the center, which means that you can tune it however you like I mentioned earlier. For a helicopter, that means that if I kind of can tune it so that I can take my hand off now and the cyclic stays in that position, and that is exactly what you need for flying helicopters as far as I'm aware. I've never flown a helicopter for real. Feel free to comment down below if I'm wrong, but from speaking to other helicopter pilots, that is the way it's meant to be, so that's the way I've sort of tuned it. And today I think we can just demonstrate how amazing it is to fly now. I mean, it's just beyond ridiculous. So let's get right into it.
We have 2 good engine starts. You're clear to disconnect the headset. We'll see you on the left with the pin. Thanks a lot.
Alright, so if we just get it into a hover now, let's just stabilize it. Here we go. So as you can see, the first benefit is because I can position the stick into excuse me, any location I want within its range of movement and kind of freeze it there very easily. It doesn't want to spring back on me or to the center. So doing these micro adjustments and super easy movements is very easy, and as you can tell, we are in a very nice and stabilized hover here. You know, I would call that almost a perfect hover, you know, without patting myself too much on the back, but that is, you know, that's just the thing of beauty right there. The thing is, it was possible with my spring-loaded stick as well, but you were definitely going to see bigger rocking left and right, back and forth and all that kind of stuff to try and get it to stick in that same spot in the sky. But now, this hover is just, it's too easy. And if I demonstrate to you now landing on top of this truck helipad thing, again, this was possible before with my spring-loaded stick, but there's just a different level of smoothness in the precision of the flight controls. Now, it is still very difficult. We've got to kind of get the rudder pedals quite close to the front, because the rest of the helicopter and the skids are actually behind us. So I'll just shut up for a second. There, that's good. Just there, perfect. Okay, so if we have a look at this, now, you know, this was something that I would say it was doable with my center spring-loaded Thrustmaster Warthog, but it was a little bit wonky every time. Sometimes I'd get it, sometimes I wouldn't. I would have to take a few attempts at it and that kind of thing. Now I have the precision and the smoothness in my cyclic whereby, you know, this would be a lot easier in VR for sure, because you'd have your peripheral vision, you'd have that depth perception, which, you know, you have to kind of guess a little bit using a 2D monitor that I'm using now. But nonetheless, there's just no question about it. This is just a hell of a lot smoother and easier to control. So if we just take off, and we'll head round to a confined landing zone. I'll demonstrate to you something that was quite difficult before, using a you know, a force feedback stick that isn't, or rather a stick that isn't self-centered at least, and that is, you know, an approach with a vertical sort of descent into a confined landing zone. And the other thing is, whilst we're flying to this place, I'll just tell you something. Right now I'm flying with my fingertips. I in fact, you know what, I have my hands fully of the controls. I'm not touching anything. I'm not trimming anything. It's just, this is the way the helicopter is flying. And look how smooth and stable it is. You can easily find a stabilized, harmonized location for all your controls, position for your controls, so that, you know, it's just a piece of cake. It's just so enjoyable to fly in a straight line. Now, if you can, if you see a house right here, right there, you see with that pickup truck and the Mercedes, that's where we're going to come and land. Now, it's a very confined landing zone, and it's a very difficult approach. It's a very, very, very tight spot, and the only way we can get into it is by descending vertically down, which I've always found to be one of the most difficult things. And again, this could be a hell of a lot easier with VR, but one of the things that is extremely important is having a good flight control setup. Now, one of the things you'll notice as well is that all the transitions between all the maneuvers that I'm doing are very smooth and stable, and you'll notice that even in all my previous videos that was just not the case, and that is entirely due to the fact that the flight control system just allows for that. So I'll just position us in the right spot. So this is the approach we're going to have now. You'll see the house will pop up underneath us. This is not the house so after this house we've got the driveway which we need to land on and hopefully position the nose very close to the porch. So I'll just shut up again for a second, because the tail rotor is going to be super close to the trees behind. So we'll just carefully ease it in. Okay, there we go. So I'll just show you where we're at here, and you'll see that it's quite a tight landing spot. So we have power lines right here next to the road, and we have the trees right there with a tail rotor, and obviously, you know, you can see that it's a very, very confined landing zone. With that vertical approach, it's very difficult to judge, especially with the center spring-loaded sticks. I found this to be one of the most challenging things, even though maybe perhaps it doesn't look as challenging as landing on that truck. It actually is just a vertical sort of down descent. That's just something, you know, very, very difficult. So if we just take off here over the power lines, and we'll head back and land on that truck pad. And I have to say, you know, I am just so in love with flying. You know, I've always been in love with flying helicopters here, even though I really should do it in real life, I think. But, you know, I've always just been, you know, loving flying the Huey. But now I'm actually just enjoying just straight and level, because the flight controls have a real feel to them, like a real weight, as if there's real mechanical, like, kind of, you know, inertia and linkages and stuff. And the thing is that this force feedback base has that, because it's got these giant motors and it's got linkages in there somehow. It actually feels like the real deal, but in a really good way, not in a kind of like, oh, it would have a lot of resistance or anything like that. No, absolutely not. This thing can be tuned exactly how you want. So we'll just come in, hopefully, for a second landing on our truck. A little zigzag here, position ourselves for the approach. And like I say, you know, one of the almost obvious things you'll see is that transitions are all quite nice and smooth. As I say that, so just make sure I don't screw this up. I'll just shut up for a second. Alright, there we go. I kind of let it drop there before we went too far. So, you know, maybe not the smoothest landing, but you get the idea. You know, you do have a level of precision here, which you just never had before. And, oh my god, it's just so bloody good. It's so enjoyable. It has absolutely transformed my flying experience in DCS. With everything, but it's certainly helicopters. I mean, the one thing that was always kind of, you know, not annoying, you just kind of accepted it, was the fact that although all aircraft behave differently and all fly, you know, they roll differently, they pitch differently, etc., what you felt with your hand was the same. There was no difference, because, you know, your joystick has the same feel no matter what you fly. And now, of course, everything you fly feels completely different, and it's just absolutely incredible what you can do with this thing. You know, you can make it, oh, it's just I can't describe to you. I'm not, okay, this is a helicopter, not an airplane, but the possibilities that it opens up, and the feel, the realistic, that kind of heavy flight control feel, sometimes not heavy depending on the aircraft. It's just it's a thing to behold. I honestly, guys, I am just in love using this thing. Now, like I say, when the time comes, I will do a proper review and I will explain everything about this, but at the moment the product's not available, so whilst it's still in testing, I can't really talk much about it. All I can tell you is I'm in this honeymoon phase, I guess, at the moment, so I still need to kind of test it out, make sure, you know, it's good with other modules, and you know, want to make sure it behaves correctly, and then eventually, hopefully, everything works out, it'll go into production, and you guys will be able to order it, and I will be delighted to give you a full review, show you the incredible capabilities of this, and just how I am just in awe about how it's transformed my experience. And I mean, literally, it's like going from 2D to VR. Yeah, I know I'm not using VR at the moment, I'm using 2D, but you know, that feeling of going from a 2D screen to being there in three dimensions, this is the same step change in terms of feel of how it feels like to fly. In terms of the flight controls, like, oh my god, it is just insane. Anyway, I hope you guys appreciate my enthusiasm. I apologize if I've been blabbering for too long about this. I hope you've enjoyed this little video. Give it a thumbs up if you've enjoyed these little confined landing zones, and hopefully, you know, I'll see you in the next video at some point. So with that said, adios.